Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Thursday, January 17th, 2019. I don't know about you, but when I woke up today, the top headline was Nooses found at GM plant in Toledo, Ohio. And I said, you got to be kidding me. Clockwork. Every year around Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, if not on the day of, a story about nooses. And it just never ends. I'm going to show you why they chose Toledo, Ohio for this racially based stunt, this mockery. But first, let's begin with a little bit of this day in history. So, it was this day, 1961, that Eisenhower gave his farewell address, and where he used the term military-industrial complex. If you've never heard Eisenhower's farewell address, you have to listen to that speech. Talks about, with what's going on in this nation with military and corporation, if it goes unchecked, it'll grow into an unfathomable monster, essentially. And I don't know if that was really a warning or, it absolutely was a warning, or was it mockery? Was it just letting us know what to expect for the future because it has gone unchecked? And anyone who lived to see September 11th, it's exactly what he was talking about that day. 1961, that's also when the funds, that year was the year the funds were approved for the World Trade Centers. Same year. Buildings didn't start until 7 years later, but that's the year the project got financed and approved. 1961. Military-industrial complex. A little bit earlier in history, 1806, the first child was ever born in the White House. Thomas Jefferson's daughter, Martha, gave birth to the child James Madison Randolph. And just wanted to see what the name of the child was. He was born on a date with 42 numerology, go figure. Big Freemason number. Jefferson, one of the many founders who spent a lot of time in France, land of the Scottish Rite, land of Masonry. James Madison Randolph. Remind you of another president there, but the child's name, 113, the big Scottish number. And James Madison Randolph, just using the alphabetic order, is 211, the 47th prime. Very fitting for being born in the White House. White House 47, President 47, government, you know the list. The big long 47 list, 211, the 47th prime. Don't forget The Apprentice equals 211 and Trump's 47. So what a name for a child born in the White House. Also on this day in history, former President Rutherford B. Hayes died, and didn't spend a lot of time looking at it. But what did jump out just looking at his name, his full name is Rutherford Burchard Hayes, and that name has Gematria of 133, like President, like White House. Reminding that Donald Trump was reported to be the 133rd richest man when he began running for the presidency. Thanks to Forbes. And the other name you like to go by, Rutherford B. Hayes, Gematria of 239, the 52nd prime. Almost all those words that have Gematria 47 that pertain to Washington, D.C., when you flip the alphabetic order around, sum to 52 as well. So White House, President, Government, Authority, they're all 52 as well. 239, the 52nd prime. Good name for the president. He died 105 days after his birthday, on his 106th day of his age. Masonry 105, Authority 106. In 1929, the character Popeye, the Sailor Man, debuted, and consider it was the 17th, Popeye 17. I didn't really like cartoons when I was a child. I didn't watch much TV at all. I was into playing. Playing outside or creating some game or using my imagination or drawing pictures. I did not watch a lot of TV growing up, but for some reason I did like Popeye. And thanks to Popeye, it made me want to eat spinach. Because, Popeye would always pop open his can of spinach and flex his muscles. So I can't lie, Popeye had an influence on me as a child, and seemingly not such a bad one. I think he got me into my good eating habits at a young age. Popeye the Sailor Man. In 1977, on this day, convicted murderer Gary Gilmore, GG, the seventh letter, GG, dead in 77. Gary Gilmore, 36, was shot by a firing squad at a Utah State prison in the first U.S. execution in a decade. In the most pure cipher, his name sums to 67, with the alphabetic order Killers 67. If you flip the alphabetic order around, Gary Gilmore's 59, which is the 17th prime. He was killed on the 17th. Kill in the pure cipher, 17, and Jewish Gematria Kill is also 59. And adding insult to injury, from his birthday to the day he was executed was 44 days later, just like how Kill with the alphabetic order is 44. So it just makes you wonder. There were two big earthquakes in history on this date. Southern California and also Japan around the Ring of Fire. Just as a little reminder, Ring of Fire. Notice the Gematria Ring of Fire 107, 163, 55. Good earthquake. Overlapping 3 of the 4 ciphers. But what jumps out about 6.7 is it's a lot like 67, the 19th prime. Quake has the Gematria 19. And in the case of the Japan earthquake, it was on a date with 33 numerology, and it hit Kobe, which equals 33 as well. I don't see the typical earthquake numbers there in either of those incidents. So just the magnitude stands out. And then this gave me a big grin. I don't think I'd ever caught this before. In 1996, Sheikh Omar Abdel Raham and 9 followers were handed long prison sentences for plotting to blow up New York area landmarks. So what's his name equal? 119. Does that remind you of September 11th? The majority of the world writes the date 11/9. Again, they say Osama bin Laden's father died in a plane crash on the day leaving 119 days left in the year, September 3rd. Osama was reportedly killed 119 weeks after Obama took office. Anyhow. Went rather quick through today in history. We got quite a bit of snow here. Most snow since I moved to this place. Funny enough, snow equals 17. And again, I live in a retirement community. So I was out shoveling the driveway this morning, and then I have a new neighbor next door, and he came out and asked if I could help him shovel his driveway. Again, I'm the only person that's young around here. Almost all my neighbors, probably the average age in the homes that surround me is probably around 70 years old. And so I was shoveling his driveway, and then the guy came out across the street and asked if I could do his driveway. He told me last year he tried to shovel his own driveway, and he had a heart attack and had to go to the hospital. And I said, oh, yeah, okay, I'll do your driveway too. So doing his driveway, and then lady next door asked if I could come and she said she didn't need her whole driveway done, but if I could just do her walkway, that'd be very helpful to her, and along the edge of the driveway and down to the sidewalk. Oh, man. So anyway, I think there's going to be a lot of that living in this neighborhood. And anyhow, I spent a lot of time shoveling snow today. And then I also had to do a live stream for another channel this morning. So it's kind of in a hurry today. Before we go into the news, I guess if you guys want to hear about also what was going on with my day. My mom called me this morning and said last night, during the same time I was doing my radio show, she said the TV I bought her, it caught on fire. So made me think, man. She had a Samsung, by the way. Got her a Samsung flat screen the other year, and last night she was watching it, and things set on fire. So luckily it didn't burn anything else down. She got it unplugged, and anyway, just a little bit of a scare there. Made me think about what I was talking about last night on my radio show. I was like, is that a sign? Save one more thing that's on my mind for the end of this. Let's just get into what we normally talk about, and then I'll tell you the other weird thing that happened. So, Again, today I woke up and one of the top stories, inside GM plant where Nooses and whites only signs hung. And I thought, goodness gracious, man, I just talked about this 2 days ago, how there's always the noose story around Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, and how noose sums to 68, like the year Martin Luther King Jr. was killed. And this story comes out of Toledo, Ohio. And look at what Toledo, Ohio has in our base ciphers, 44. Like how MLK was killed on April 4th. 4-4. And again, it's just a reminder of what kind of nation we really live in. Fascist nation, it's government, it's corporation, it's media. They're all merged. They all work together to mock us. Here's the story. It took 14 months for the noose to show up. 14 months where Marcus Boyd says he endured racist comments, slights, even threats in a hostile workplace run by General Motors. A workplace where people declared bathrooms were for whites only, where black supervisors were denounced as boy and ignored by their subordinates, where black employees were called monkey or told to go back to Africa. A workplace where black employees were warned a white colleague's daddy was in the Ku Klux Klan, where white workers wore shirts with Nazi symbols underneath their coveralls. In Ohio, in 2018, remember the word race equals 18. In 2018, opened up with the H&M story, the story of the little black boy wearing the t-shirt, the coolest monkey in the jungle. The word boy has gematria 42, just like the N-word. And look at this guy's initials, MB. M is the 13th letter. The numerology of 13 is 1 plus 3 is 4, and B is 2. So his initials break down to 4-2. And not only that, but Marcus Boyd equals 59, just like how Negro, Slave, Blues all sum to 59. If you flip the alphabetic order around, the N-word sums to 30, and today's date has 30 numerology. N-words 30. So is the term whites, the whites only signs. But no doubt, this story, themed with Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, which was this Monday. That day we got the story of the terrorist attack in Africa. And if you missed last night's radio show, the caller from New York, who always does great work, man, he had something awesome last night about the 2013 attack at the Westgate Mall in Nairobi. He really took that a whole lot further. And I call that guy the king of gematria right now. His research is really good. It goes deep. But yeah, there it was. And there might be another. I've seen years where they do multiple news stories the week of Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. And of course, we'll celebrate Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday next Monday. It's always the Monday after his birthday. This year, his birthday fell on a Tuesday. January 15th was Tuesday. And remember what happened Monday. Monday, we got the story about the racist remarks from Rep. Steve King, just before Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. Here's another blast from the past. If you haven't been following me that long, when this news broke in late 2015, the killing of Laquan McDonald, it came with the story of the killing of Ronald Johnson. Ronald Johnson, Laquan McDonald, Ronald McDonald. Both of these stories supposedly happened in 2014, but they both made news late 2015. You never heard about it in the national news until the end of 2015. And around the same time those two stories emerged, and remember, 2015 was just the year full of racially divisive propaganda. That's how we called that Broncos and Panthers Super Bowl months in advance. But around that same time that the stories broke, we also got the shooting at the San Bernardino holiday party. And if you remember that story, all day, the news story was 3 white males dressed in all black. First, they said they shot up a retirement center, and then it turned into a holiday party, and they were looking for 3 white males dressed in all black all day. And then I don't know, it must have been 8 or 10 hours later, all of a sudden they'd found the shooters and they were a Middle Eastern married couple. It's like, wait a minute. You're looking for 3 white males and now it's a Middle Eastern married couple. Okay, this doesn't make any sense. Not that these stories ever do. And I just said right then, I said, look at what's in the news right now, you guys. Laquan McDonald, Ronald Johnson, and San Bernardino. I said, what do those things have to do with each other? McDonald's is headquartered just outside of Chicago. That's where the Laquan McDonald and Ronald Johnson killing were. And, you know, McDonald's came to fame in San Bernardino. So, again, it was another, you know, corporate, you know, fascist government mockery. And it was all by the numbers. And for example, look at what day Laquan McDonald was supposedly killed. 10/20/14, 10 plus 20 plus 14, 44. Or 10 plus 20 plus 20 plus 14, 64. Kill equals 44 and 64. So does Cook, as in Cook County, where Chicago is. Cook is 44 and 64. Alphabetic order in reverse. And shootings 44, and gunfire's 44, and officers 44, and familiar pattern. I happen to notice that from the day of this shooting to today's news is 1,551 days. There's got to be something with that number. It's too much of a pattern there. There's got to be something to that number, but I don't have what it is off the top of my head. Also, he was 17 years old when he was killed. Kill has the gematria of 17, 44, and 64. 3 of the 4 base ciphers. Today's the 17th. This story comes. Today's date also has 37 numerology. Chicago's 37 in our most pure cipher. So, you know, it just never ends. And another racially charged story. 3 Chicago police officers found no guilty of cover-up in Laquan McDonald's shooting death. I should have copy and pasted the smaller subheadline that led me to this story. White police officers acquitted in killing a black teen. That's what CNN had up on the front page. So they didn't keep that in the link for the main story. But no doubt about it, racially charged propaganda the week of Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. Also, last night, this story emerged. Man in Georgia wanted to attack the White House, federal officials say. And this story came yesterday, January 16th, 19, a date with 36 numerology. The surname of the man is Taheb. He has an Islamic name. It's happening in Cumming, Georgia, equaling 142. Terrorist, 142. His name, Hashir Taheb, equals 58, like how Donald Trump, the man in the White House, was the winner of the 58th U.S. presidential election in the giant 58 ritual. The FBI agent who said that he's been running the investigation for a year, his name is Chris Hacker, 58, like Freemasonry, like secret society. When you use the rule on S, Washington and the United States are 58. The story pertained to Washington, D.C. and the president. Yesterday had 56 date numerology, Washington, D.C. and president, also 56. Cumming, Georgia has that gematria of 74. Georgia, of course, 44, like shooting, like kill, like gunfire. 127, like Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. 37 is also like shooting and gunfire. And let me see. We're going to put that on mute. With regards to Georgia's a gematria of 127, in light of this man having an Islamic name, I just thought I would measure from the Islamic New Year start, which was September 11th, 2018. Just thought it might be interesting to see how this lined up. I don't normally do this, but right away I said, that's interesting. From September 11th to the day this story is 127 days later. And Georgia's 127 where this happened. An Islamic name, so I don't think it is a coincidence. And again, just propaganda to program. Who are the terrorists? There's the Islamic type again and again. No. Also, another story in the media. An American CEO who survived 9/11 died in the terror attack on a Kenya hotel. That was January 15th, Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. The name of the man is Jason Spindler. And look at the Gematria Spindler, 119. No. What are the odds? What are the odds? Also today we get a story about tit for tat. As soon as I saw this story about Trump denying Pelosi the military aircraft so she could do her overseas trip as if that needed to happen. Think about all the things we pay for that are just so unnecessary. I mean, what's Nancy Pelosi need to travel overseas for? What's she ever done? Nothing. It's like a vacation. But as soon as I saw the headline, the first thing I thought is, oh, this is tit for tat. Those were the first words that came to my mind. And, you know, yesterday, Nancy Pelosi disinvited Donald Trump to Congress to give the State of the Union speech. So here's the retaliation today. And right here, the caption. In an apparent tit for tat, I said, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what words came to mind when I saw this story. And then there it is right at the top of the story, in apparent tit for tat. So like, I wonder what the gematria of tit for tat is. And in our base cipher, it sums to 114, just like military aircraft. That's what she's being rejected by Trump for her travels. So how perfect. Plus President of the United States is 114. And when you use the Francis Bacon cipher, that's where capital letters matter. Trump with ordinal gematria is 88. In Francis Bacon, you're adding plus 26 for each capital letter. It's where lowercase a through z is 1 through 26, uppercase a through z is 27 through 52. Trump in Francis Bacon's 114. So I thought, oh, perfect, perfect. And then I noticed to his upcoming birthday later this year is 148 days. Donald J. Trump's 148, like the art of the deal. And yesterday we covered how yesterday's news came 69 days before Pelosi's upcoming birthday. So that means today's 68 days before Pelosi's upcoming birthday. And as we know, Donald John Trump's 68. The Apprentice is 68. Donald J. Trump's 68. So Trump versus Nancy by the numbers. Today's date has 57 numerology, like Scottish Rite. The name Nancy is also 57. But I don't think the tit for tat thing is any accident. Not with the military aircraft. Another political related story today. Tom Marino, Republican, announced he's resigning, returning to the private sector. Saw a story like this. So he makes the announcement today, January 17th, and he's going to officially step down January 23rd. And here's everything that's interesting about this story. The word private with the Francis Bacon cipher is 117, like how today is January 17th. I noticed right away in the reporting on it, they bring up how he was one of Trump's earliest supporters in the Republican Party. He was one of the first people to endorse Trump. And then I noticed his birthday was August 13th. Remember, Donald Trump with the alphabetic order is 138. Federal, when you flip the alphabetic order around, is 138. And we've been talking about this in light of the riddles with Donald Trump and the Berlin Wall. The Berlin Wall construction began 13/8, right? This comes in the middle of the government shutdown that has a lot to do with the wall. We've been talking about the ongoing riddles with the Berlin Wall and Trump. And we'll cover that more at the end of this. I got a gem for you thanks to Dan Behrendt. But I noticed that from his birthday to today, the announcement is a span of 158 days. If you don't count the full span, it's 157 days after his birthday. Remember, United States is 157. 157 is the 37th prime number. And he's making this announcement about returning to the private sector. Private 37, 157, the 37th prime. But also, it being his 158th day of his age matters too, because that's the Freemasonry number. Again and again, these rituals, they point in one direction. To the day that he will officially resign will be 163 days after his birthday. 163 is the 38th prime, and the name Marino in the base ciphers has the Gematria 38. So fitting day for him to officially step down. In light of him being one of the big Trump supporters, Make America Great Again is also 163. Call it a coincidence. It's probably more about it being the 38th prime and how Marino's 38. Again, it just, I imagine the truth is there's some other, Freemason out there. It's his time for the throne, if you will. So Marino's had his stay in. Now they have to, maneuver whoever's coming in next. Because as we see, election after election, special election, whatever it is, it's always a perfectly synced up ritual. Michael Cohen back in the news today saying that Trump directed him to pay for poll rigging. So, yesterday we had Rosie O'Donnell coming out and saying Trump will be arrested before 2020. We've seen so many members of his administration arrested already, including Michael Cohen. Things like poll rigging are illegal. So, it's all a show. It's all propaganda. It's all distraction. And if Trump is arrested over all this, if that ends up being the narrative, it could be, it'll be part of the show too, just the latest distraction. But at the same time, most people aren't realizing this in the world. They're believing the news. They're believing in their government. They're thinking this stuff's authentic. And you just got to go. Who's ever been involved in so many scandals? This is unprecedented. Everything about Donald Trump's been unprecedented from day one. Just the kind of remarks he made on the campaign trail. Wasn't that long ago that Howard Dean went, wahoo! And that was the end of his presidential run. The news stories were that was unpresidential. You can't say wahoo and run for office. That's, you can't be like that and run for the highest office in the land. And here's Donald Trump, who's, he's just said all sorts of things. And, even said he can grab women however he wants. And it's just, I guess it's signs of the times. But today's date does have the 57 date numerology, and Michael Cohen's front and center, and Michael Cohen's 57 like Scottish Rite. From Trump's last birthday to today is his 218th day of his age. Could have talked about that with Nancy too, and his move with Nancy. Remember, October 3rd, he put out the presidential alert to our phones at 2:18 Eastern time. When Hillary conceded to Trump, or when the election was called in Trump's favor, better way to put that, Hillary was at 218 electoral votes. We talked about how the first magazine cover Trump was ever on for Time, it was a date when written out as words that had a gematria of 218. And when you write out Trump's name in all caps with the Francis Bacon cipher, it's 218. That's a discovery by Zenith of the Alpha. But I'd say the trumpets are blaring, How many more scandals can stack and allegations and assertions before the Trump House of Cards folds, if you will? The story is, let's just read how ridiculous this is anyway. It sounds like a soap opera. President Donald Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen, said Thursday that he paid the head of a small technology company thousands in 2015 to rig online polls at the direction of and for the sole benefit of Trump. Cohen was responding to a report in the Wall Street Journal that he paid John Yeager, the owner of Red Finch Solutions, LLC, between $12,000 and $13,000 for activities related to Trump's campaign, including trying unsuccessfully to manipulate 2 online polls in Mr. Trump's favor, and creating a Twitter account called Women for Cohen that praised Cohen's looks and character and promoted his appearances and statements boosting Trump's candidacy. In making the claim, Yeager told the paper he wasn't fully paid for the work, though the Journal said Cohen was reimbursed $50,000, the amount the two originally agreed on for Yeager's services by the Trump organization. Yeager, according to the paper, also received a boxing glove worn by a Brazilian mixed martial arts fighter along with the cash payment. Anyway, Red Finch, the name of this company, Gematria of 67, which is the 19th prime number, and they're paying them for the poll fixing, polls 19. Here we are in 2019. This is the combo we've said to look out for this year, the 67s and 19s. They just keep coming up every single day. Also, the man's name, John Yeager, who was reportedly paid, his name has that 5247 thing going on. So, thought, how perfect. How perfect. And I'm sure we'll hear from Michael Cohen next when his numbers align with the date as well. Every time Michael Cohen's front and center, it's got Michael Cohen numbers that date. Another needless tragedy for the world. Newborn's remains found in trash at Amazon building in Phoenix. Phoenix police are investigating the discovery of a newborn's remains in the garbage at an Amazon distribution center. The call came in Wednesday at around 8:30 p.m. that a baby was found deceased at the business near West Lower Buckeye Road, according to a Phoenix police spokesman, Vincent Lewis. 8:30, 83, murder, 83. And it's just like, why does this need to be a headline? I mean, even if this is true, why do we need to know about it? Yeah, it's gross, yeah, it's sick, but why? It's just like, it's another thing that you just read it and you just think, man, that's horrible. And then, your mood's not quite as good as it was before you saw the story. And anyhow, the baby was found yesterday, this date with a life lesson number of 29, Amazon's 29. And the news comes today, date with a life lesson number of 30, baby 30. So I'm sure we're hearing about the baby in the trash can. And I'm sure there's a whole lot more to it, but all of these riddles, again and again. And this story is straight from the 33rd parallel from a police officer named Vincent, Police 33, Vincent 33. And notice, big corporate name in the headline too. It's like, even if the baby is found next to Amazon, why does that need to be part of the story? Does it matter that it's next to the Amazon building? I'm sure there was a little restaurant or coffee shop right across the street. I maintain this is all just another way of subliminal advertising, just getting the name out there, So, there was a headline today that said, newborn baby found in the trash near Zachary Hubbard's home. There'd probably be a lot of people searching for Zachary Hubbard. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, they'd have a lot more people knowing about Gematria. Last night, there was a benefit concert for Chris Cornell, and I'm going to have to look at this more. Somebody told me last night if I knew anything about it, so I just looked it up, and I saw that the concert was announced November 13th, and then they had the concert last night, January 16th, which was 64 days later, and Chris Cornell, of course, equals 64. And remember, Chris Cornell supposedly hung himself after performing at a concert in Detroit, and then not long after that, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 64 days later, on what would have been his birthday, there was the death of Chester Bennington, who supposedly hung himself, who was the front man for, oh my God, I can't think of the band name right now. Linkin Park. Linkin Park. Remember, 2 dead rock stars, supposedly from hanging. Chester Bennington died on Chris Cornell's birthday after Chris Cornell hung himself. And, if it wasn't I don't have it off the top of my head. I'm just going from memory. If it wasn't 64 days after Chris Cornell's death, maybe it was a date with 64 numerology. It was something like that. But I know that we were definitely talking a lot about this number in both men's deaths. Plus kill equals 64. So how interesting that from the day they announced the concert to the actual concert itself, 64 days later. And that's just par for the course in what we see in these rituals again and again. John Bogle, known for financial investment, dead at 89. Chaos has that gematria of 89, and I just wonder if this could be a signal for the market. He died 8 months and 8 days after his birthday, or if you count the span, he died 8 months and 9 days after his 89th birthday. And again, it's been about 89 years since the major economic collapse of Wall Street. So those are my first thoughts seeing this headline yesterday. May 8th birthday this man had, 5'8", 58. Reminds me of Humpty Dumpty in the White House right now, who fell off his wall. But here it is, from his birthday to his death, 8 months and 8 days, or a span of 8 months and 9 days. And he founded the Vanguard investment firm. John Bogle and Vanguard, both 88, like how Trump with the alphabetic order is 88. So I'm going to remember this news story if we see anything crazy happen with the market in the days ahead. This man known for investment in Wall Street. John Bogle, who created the first index fund in 1975. How many years ago was 75 now? 44? 44 years ago. We know about 44. You know what else? That just makes me think about one other thing. That means he was 45 years old then. You know, like how Trump's number 45. So, Wall Street has that gematria of 45. This caught my eye yesterday too. Disney artist uses spray paint to bring art to Paradise, California, the city that burned by the numbers. Notice CNN for their story had a timer with a minute 13:113. Some Disney employees have said it's been asked why some of these animation art studios make these big films, Disney and other Pixar, they're known to code A113 into their films. And they were asked about why they always put this number in the film. And they said it's because it's a classroom door number at a well-known school with this type of creative design. And as we know here, that's definitely not the reason they're always putting 113 in these films. It's a signature number of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. It's also a number of dishonesty and deception. And it's no secret that Disney, in addition to putting A113 in their films, also codes all sorts of, sexual subliminal imagery, which is a strange thing to do in films that target very young people. So I just thought it was interesting how CNN puts up their story yesterday, which has to do with Disney, and they're sure to put 113 in the timer. Which I'm sure if you asked them, they'd say, oh, well, that's just a tribute to Door A113. Another lie. Now here is the here's the story of the day. This is the best part of this podcast, so hopefully you're still here. And this is all thanks to Dan Behrendt. Dan Behrendt caught this. I miss so much stuff in the world of wrestling because I do not watch wrestling at all. I've never watched wrestling. And sometimes I think I really should for this research because it just seems like so many gems come out of the world of wrestling. So get this. Jericho, a biblical name which has to do with a wall that falls. Chris Jericho, the wrestler, on the same day that Donald Trump gave his speech to the nation about the border crisis and why we need the wall, on the same day, January 8th, Chris Jericho made big news in the wrestling world, switching the leagues that he's performing in. Now check this out. His birthday, this wrestler Jericho, his real name's Christopher Keith Irvine, his birthday is November 9th, the date that the Berlin Wall fell. Just like how Jericho, the wall, the story of the falling wall. So his birthday is November 9th, right? This date can be written 9/11. The same day that he makes this big announcement, Donald Trump ends his speech at 9:11 p.m. And of course, Donald Trump was announced as the 45th president-elect on the anniversary of the fall of the wall, November 9th. Berlin Wall equals 45 in our most pure cipher. Now notice Chris Jericho's 48 years old. 48. The date that this happened, January 8th, 2019, where he has his big news and Trump gives a speech about the wall, that was a date with 48 numerology. Wall with the alphabetic order 48, Donald Trump 48. And we've just seen all these rituals with walls and 48. Around the same time Trump became president, Matt Damon came out with that movie, The Great Wall, on the 48th day of the year. Donald Trump had his GOP convention in Cleveland, where the Cleveland Cavaliers played, where LeBron James was at the time. LeBron James had the show come out called The Wall. James equals 48. Cleveland's 48, again, where Trump had his convention. So 48, politics, entertainment, news, all coming together, all perfectly coordinated ritual. And here it is in Joshua 6. Joshua is the 6th book of the Bible, Old Testament. In the narrative of the conquest of Canaan in the book of Joshua, the Battle of Jericho is the first battle that is described according to Joshua 6:1 through 27. The walls of Jericho fell after Joshua's Israelite army marched around the city, blowing their trumpets. I mean, come on. We've been talking about these riddles from day one. The trumpets ticket, the Holy Bible, number 45. I mean, it just goes to show how planned and coordinated and thought out all of this is. Donald Trump, don't forget, this is a man who's participated in the WWE. He even fought Vince McMahon, who runs the WWE. Chris Jericho left the WWE for this other wrestling league on this day. Even better, the wrestler Jericho, his full name Christopher Keith Irvine, has Gematria of 134, like Make America Great Again. And as another reminder, Tisha B'Av equals 134. 9th of Av equals 134. This year, 2019, August 11th, the day we're looking out for, that's Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av. And in the WWE, it's SummerSlam on that same day. And SummerSlam is 134. So don't forget this. Also, Jericho equals 68, like Donald John Trump, like The Apprentice, like Donald J. Trump. And here it is. Vince McMahon and Donald going toe-to-toe. Donald Trump, who's hosted a lot of WWE events in his time. Mr. Hollywood, Mr. Apprentice. Vince McMahon is a Freemason. Just talked about the death of Mean Gene, synced up with Vince McMahon's birthday. So that's everything I had to cover today. It's another relatively slow news day. It's another day of Trump versus Pelosi. If anybody wants to call in, you know the number. It's 509-731-0567. Again, 509-731-0567. Seeing if there was anything else breaking here. I wonder what the phrase fly commercial equals. Commercial. Fly commercial. What stands out about the fly commercial? Well, Trump is 72 right now. President Trump equals 72. So that stands out. But the 63 jumps out at me because, again, 2016 is the 63rd triangular number. This whole thing is over the wall. Donald Trump did the commercial for Serta, talking to the sheep on pillars 9 and 11. And then Berlin Wall's also got the 63 thing, too. And this whole debacle's over the wall. Like commercial. $135 and $216. I don't know exactly how those numbers fit into this story. I know about those numbers, but not so much for this one. So, oh, here's something. Israeli exchange student found dead in Australia after horrific attack. Nice clear image. Just what I'd expect from the media. Photo looks older than me. Let's see. An Israeli student who was talking on the phone to her sister overseas has been killed in a horrific attack in Melbourne, Australia, police said. City consistently ranked among the world's safest places to live. Victoria police said the 21-year-old victim, Aya Masarwe, appeared to have been seriously assaulted. The La Trobe University student's body was found partially clothed in the bushes early Wednesday. That's yesterday, January 16th. In Boondora, a suburb about 16 kilometers from Melbourne Centre. The sister, whom Masare was talking to at the time of the attack, alerted authorities. Nice inverted pentagram there from the Victoria Police. Detective Inspector Andrew Stamper said Thursday that further details about her injuries would not be revealed out of the respect of her family. This was an absolutely horrendous, horrific attack that was committed against an innocent young woman. Investigators believe a t-shirt and cap found in bushes about 100 meters, 330 feet away, thanks for the 33, from the crime scene were left by Masarwe's killer. Stamper said the clothing was key to solving this crime. Well, let's just take a look. Let's take a look here. Start with her name. Well, some things are definitely jumping out. 223, like the Synagogue of Satan. 47, like Orthodox, like Star of David. 88, like Jewish. Holy moly. Jewish, 88. The Synagogue of Satan. 223. Star of David. 47. Orthodox. Oops. 47. Let's just look at the surname alone. 27. What was yesterday's date? Her first name has Gematria 20 like death, 34 like murder, another 88. $27 is the ritual number. So is 81. She's got some ritual numbers. La Trobe University. Let's see if that fits in here. $107 like ritual sacrifice. The divisors at 84, some to 224. The divisors of 44, some to 84. Let's see. La Trobe 73 like sacrifice. 28 and 44 like kill. This story on January 16th. 116, La Trobe 116. They emphasize the word horrific. Horrific. 86 like blood sacrifice. 59, the 17th prime. This news comes on the 17th. Killing Jewish Gematrias, 59. So yeah, there's definitely some familiar patterns here. And again, inverted pentagram is a satanic symbol, so the synagogue of Satan thing goes right in hand. 1986 hat. What did we just say? What was 86? Latrobe? University? What was just 86 that I looked at? I know something I just typed in was 86. Oh, horrific. Horrific was. Of course, blood sacrifice 86. So, if anybody listened to last night's radio show, the question of the night was, can we solve our problems with nonviolence? And overwhelmingly, people called in and said, yeah, we can only be nonviolence because if we become violent, then, we're just making the world a worse place too. And, there's still a part of my mind that says, there are some really evil people out here in this world, scaring us every day, dividing us every day, pumping hate in the world, pumping fear in the world, creating needless war, murdering people. And, is that really what we're supposed to do as people? Is just say, okay, well, this evil's out there and we got to be at peace with it. And, it's just not our place to do anything about it. Because overwhelmingly, that's what my caller said last night. If anybody has an opinion on that and didn't get a voice at last night, the number is 509-731-0567. Last night, while I was having this conversation, my mom's TV did set on fire, and I'm just going, is that just a coincidence, or am I suggesting things that I'm not supposed to suggest, and that's a sign in the world? But while I wait to see if anybody calls in, just let me know if you can relate with this story. Do you ever feel like your computer is reading your mind? Sometimes this stuff happens to me, and it's like, is this a coincidence what just happened right now, or is this an accident? Last night, I was doing my decodes, and I had the music going, and I had this thought. Just all of a sudden, this thought came into my brain, and I thought, man, there were just so many great bands and music in the 60s, and so many of these bands, they don't get any recognition. Nobody even knows who they are. Nobody knows who these groups are. Well, some people do, but almost nobody. And the thought was in my mind is just like how everybody knows the Beatles. And I was just thinking, like, a lot of these groups are just so much better than the Beatles, and most people have no clue who they are, but everybody in this world knows who the Beatles are. And that thought was just like climbing through my mind as I was decoding and listening to music. And I had on my Motown playlist. And I usually have the Motown playlist on, and never before, and I'm always listening, I do like a lot of you to just get on YouTube, and then it just starts playing one song after the next. And it'll usually almost always keep music within that genre. And right as I was having that thought, as the song ended, would you guess what band came on next? And I swear to God, for years, I have never had it transition from Motown to the Beatles. But then that's what came on next. What song was it? Oh, what song came on was the Beatles song "Don't Let Me Down." That song started to play, right? And I was like, you got to be kidding me. It just transitioned into a Beatles song? This never happens. I just had this thought all of a sudden out of nowhere, and now a Beatles song's playing, and I didn't say it out loud. I didn't type in Beatles. I didn't do a web search. Just all of a sudden, it went from Motown music to Beatles' "Don't Let Me Down." I thought, this is just too weird. And then what annoyed me is after that, then the next song it played was the "You Say You Want a Revolution" song, and I hate that song. That's the Beatles song that I despise. And I thought, oh, now it's going to play the Beatles song that I really hate. So it was just so weird, It was so strange. So, and I've had things like that happen before. You just have like this thought, and then I guess it happens with the radio too sometimes. And I don't know. Life is weird. Is it ESP? But I'm always listening to the Motown playlist, and it never goes to the Beatles. But then all of a sudden, I have that random thought, and it does. So I didn't know what to make of it. Weirded me out. Doesn't look like we have any callers today. Let me, just before we wrap it up here, I'll go out to the chat. Hopefully we haven't had robot voice for the last hour. That was weird yesterday, too. I don't know what to make of that either. Oh, looks like we do have somebody calling in. Hello, caller.
Hey, what's up, Zach? It's Chigozie.
Hey, man.
Hey, I just wanted to answer that question about the violence. I've always had my own opinions on that, too. And just, I guess from a logical standpoint, I don't see how nonviolence will work. Of course, I don't know it all, but just the current situation, this gang, they have police, they have military, like they're gonna use violence to fight against us, at least.
And they always do. They always do. I mean, they'll break up a protest with violence. They'll come baton you and smoke you out and.
Absolutely. So if they're doing that, and if they're and on top of that, they're a bunch of complete liars. So any sort of negotiation, I mean, how are you going to negotiate anything with them in a non-violent way when they're doing? How can you trust them? So it's like the only solution, to be honest, is just complete violence, complete getting the numbers out, getting the people to come together and just overthrowing the media, overthrowing the government. It sounds like anarchist, but I mean, it's really the only way, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how else you're going to break the system. It sounded like my callers last night think it's impossible to break the system, and they don't want to lower themselves to being violent. So I understand that theory, but to me, it's almost like a defeatist attitude. And the problem with that approach is, well, then that just means the world's going to continue on the same path, and this path is seemingly getting worse day by day. So what are we doing for, the children and the unborn generations? I feel like we're screwing them over by not doing anything. And that is what we're doing. So,
we really are. And it's all like that non-violence programming too people are falling for. I just think even just naturally as humans, like as animals, like nature's a violent thing. Like violence is a thing to like look away from or look down on. Like, we just think kind of like they've been brainwashing people to think, violence is bad. Never use violence. Giving you an MLK with all these things. But here comes Malcolm X, actually, giving you probably a different insight on that. So, yeah, I know you mentioned that a bunch too, but it's just that programming, which is why people don't want to, take action.
Right. I just saw Fermenti in the chat said that we got to learn to become farmers so that we can be independent, and I agree with that. I think that's absolutely true. We need to figure out how to become independent so we're not relying on the system. That's a huge step. But the thing is, there used to be a people here on this continent who relied on the land and, didn't live under tyranny. And those people were genocided and murdered off so that they could come here and build the nation that we are. And I do imagine that if people broke off and became self-sustainable, the same type of thing would happen to, the new agricultural society. Eventually they'd be targeted and they'd be destroyed too. So
absolutely. And I was even hearing something like that, like even like today, or even not here today, but like in this day and age or in the future, like if you have like a garden or even some animals to raise, like the government can always just come and just like seize it, say like, hey, there's a citywide famine, you can't have this garden, you can't have these animals, like they can just come and use force and violence to make you give up your property, and that's a possibility. So that another reason why like you gotta have to be able to defend yourself, and violence really seems to be being answered again. If they only use violence, you can't just stand there and take it. And the fact that they're liars makes that even more of a reason why you can't just negotiate with them.
Right. I just imagine what it would look like. It would take a coordinated effort, but if there were 1,000 people in every state that were ready to do something, and they were organized and for example, maybe they were all going to take over their state capital to send out a message and a point and say the federal government's next. That could cause an uprising. And I mean, the problem is, if you ask the average American if they'd be up for this, they'd say no way. I think the average American is complacent and comfortable, and they know things aren't perfect, but it's good enough for them. They got the food on the shelf, they got electricity, they got warm showers, they got a bed, and that's what the tyrants have done. They've made their world comfortable enough for the average person that they're not going to object and they're not going to fight back. And that's why the caller who called in last night said that the system needs to be broken for those people so that they don't have a choice either. And you know what? I actually do agree with that because yeah, these people need to. I mean, if these people are too complacent and dead weight, and the system's good enough for them, well, in my opinion, I mean, honestly, people say, "Well, who are you to judge?" But I'll say, "Look, man, the world's being destroyed, and nothing's being done about it, and no one's willing to change the path. Why should I care more about these people than the unborn generations who are going to be born into this world that just gets worse and worse each day?" So, and the answer to that question is that I don't. In fact, I don't like those people. I see them as just as much a part of the problem as I do the Illuminati. So,
exactly, me too.
So, yeah, I mean, but, last night, I wasn't surprised by what most of the callers had to say because there's just so many layers of programming. The religion is a major layer. The guy who called in last night who gave the big donation too, he's a nice person. And he's saying anybody who fought or resorted to violence isn't a Christian. And yeah, that is true because that's not the Christian way. But again, I'm not a Christian. And it's just like, I don't want to be a violent person, but it's like, I feel like I'm a realist and I see the reality of the situation and I understand that something has to be done. And nobody should be feeling that this system's hunky-dory and good enough and we're powerless to fight back. And I don't know. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like that's just the big problem. People are too comfortable, too complacent. That's why it's one of the things like a crisis hasn't happened to you. It's like shit hasn't really hit the fan for you. You're going to be more likely to be complacent and not want to do something. It's this world's so comfortable. Even for people who are kind of awake to this, they're still, having a decently comfortable life every day. And I guess they're not really thinking about the future generations. Or else they wouldn't, reason like that. They would just be like, "Right, let's do this. I can't logically see how nonviolence will work. I just don't see how that works.
It would only work if enough people participated in not paying taxes and not going to work and not consuming and changing what they're doing and becoming community and growing local agriculture. And that's just not going to happen. That is not going to happen because we don't know how to work together as a society. And it's just not going to happen. So it's like there has to be a forced change.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It's a tough road. It's a tough path. But I was not surprised by the sentiments of the callers last night. So
yeah, I hope one day maybe things will change for them. They'll see things a little bit differently, especially the whole Christianity. Right? To me, it seems like more programming. I mean, they put this whole Christianity system around us, and now they're coming out saying that if you're violent, you're not Christian. It's like, well, isn't that the whole point? They want you to be some complacent Christian where you don't fight back, turn another cheek, and all that stuff. That really doesn't make sense in this current thing we're in.
Right. It's like if you grew up in a house where your parents raped you, and they taught you that raping's bad, but you don't do anything bad back. You're a good person if you just accept the raping and find peace in your life. And
that's crazy.
That's essentially what all my callers were saying last night. So.
Yeah. Well, I hope that they change their mind one day. That's as long as my hope that people just wake up one day and see really what's going on, see what we need to do. Because until they think, as long as they keep thinking that, it's just like it'll be harder to make things happen because they'll refuse to want go to CNN armed, or maybe not armed, go in there and en masse, shut down the place. That might be too violent for them, but that's like the only solution I feel. This media needs to go. That's like a big step.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's something I've said in the past. If 1,000 people could show up at CNN and just walk through the doors and not, just we're going to fill up your studio, we're going to bombard your whole studio. You can't do Anderson Cooper 360 tonight. We're all standing in the way of the camera. Yeah, that could be something. So things like that need to happen. You don't necessarily have to have weapons, but you have to have people who are willing to act and take some chances. So.
Oh, for sure. I agree. Well, yeah, thanks for taking my call and talking about this. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, Chigozie. Keep up the good work, man.
I will, you too.
All right, have a good day.
Okay.
If anybody else wants to call in, talk about it, it's 509-731-0567. Fermenti writes that every revolution in history was state-sponsored, and that probably is true, but that's why there needs to be one that isn't. That's why there needs to be one that is not. And, last night we had the good callers from New York phone in and say, one of them said, hold on, we got a call from New York. Hello?
Hey, Zach.
Hi.
I'm kind of a newbie, and I just wanted to say, I think I feel like I've put my money where my mouth is about, being armed and being ready and being willing to fight. I moved from New York State where they had the SAFE Act, and me and my husband, we hightailed it out of there. We moved to Idaho not too long ago just so we could keep guns and have more freedom than we did in New York. But I got to say, the freaky thing about, starting an armed fight would be just that, all this stuff seems somewhat supernatural. And, how do you fight that? I mean, once I started following you and seeing, the extent that they have over all aspects of, the society, it was kind of well, how do you fight that? So if you have any insights, or I'd love to know your opinion on that.
So you bring up a good point. I've talked about this film. Hey, Tucson, I'm going to take your call right after this. Call me as soon as this is over. Sorry, somebody's on hold. This film, Four Blood Moons, which is this pro-Zionist film, it's I believe you can stream it on Netflix. If not, it's Amazon. It's on one of those things you can watch it for free. But in the film, they show about how they had to do the battles and all the fight to get Jerusalem after, their independent Jewish state was declared. And in their analysis of what happened, they show how all this supernatural phenomenon helped them win all their battles. How all of a sudden the guns of their opponents didn't work, or all of a sudden these bigger armies just cowered in fear at the smaller Israeli army. And to me, I feel like this is a load of crap and a bunch of BS. Because if you watch that documentary, there's all sorts of things about how they're God's chosen people and how God favors them and how God protects them from all things, and anybody who goes against Israel will be cursed and destroyed. And, I wish I could come on in the middle of the documentary as I watched it. I've watched it a few times now. And just go, well, wait a minute. If God protects you and you guys just have God and nobody else has God like you, how come you need, all this money from the U.S. every day to aid you in all this? And why do you need the U.S. to defend you and pay for your military if God's just protecting everything? But, I don't know. It still does seem that in some regards there is supernatural forces at work in this world, but would it protect the tyrants and the people who are seemingly the evil of the world? I don't know if that's true. And just like when you watch that film Four Blood Moons, that's essentially what they explained. The supernatural protected them and helped them achieve their goals and claim Jerusalem. But then when you just think about it logically, you're like, wait a minute. I mean, if this is all true, then how come they need the U.S. to protect them every day and pay for all of their stuff? So.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Okay. The other thing too is that I think I got really freaked out when I saw it seems like all the powerful people in the world, that they're worshiping demons and Baphomet and all that kind of shit. So that kind of flipped it on its head. I'm more than happy to be agnostic and stuff, but what are they? You know what I mean? That's, to me, that's insane. That's crazy. That's nutty, super nutty. That goes against everything I was raised to think about. So, is it time to get spiritual and that kind of thing?
Well, that's up to you. I've always been a spiritual person, but I'm definitely not a religious person. And
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. So I don't know. Anyway, that's what I was thinking. I'm more than happy if things are going down. I mean, you know, me and my family are totally willing to jump on the bandwagon. I'm just more worried that, like that caller said last night, that, you know, if it wasn't organized right in the beginning, they would just use it to hunt us down and, you know, totally decimate us before we could get a second shot.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many obstacles in this world, and now that we're in this surveillance information age, they'd snuff us out in no time. I mean, there's major obstacles. Last night, I just wanted to have the conversation to just see where people are at and what they ultimately.
It's a great conversation, and I loved listening to it, and I loved just being able to talk about it. So I thank you for that and everything else you're doing. I just started your, Patreon course, your Gematria school, and I gotta say, I just, it's great, and I just love being a Patreon member. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your generosity, and I'm glad it's enjoyable to you. So thank you, and stay strong out there. All right, nice to hear your voice.
Okay, bye.
Have a good day. Bye. All right, Tucson, the line's open. But I mean, yeah, we're in we're that phrase between a rock and a hard place. I don't even know if that's enough to describe where we are. But still, I think it's good to talk about these things and again, just see where the minds of the people are at. I know Tucson's working. He might have just had a chance there in the moment to call between a break. He might be back to work already, but. If we missed him, I know we'll hear from him shortly. So. I don't know. I don't know if we can bust their money supply and make them fall, because those print out some more monopoly bills. All right, you guys, we can leave it there for today. Be back tomorrow, same time, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 Eastern. Appreciate all of you tuning in. Have a great rest of your day. Till next time, Truth Seeker.